Silence hung thick in Blake Sullivan's San Francisco mansion, interrupted only by the soft ticking of an antique grandfather clock. 35 years of success had built these walls, yet they felt more like a prison than a home. The CEO's fingers traced the edge of a framed portrait, a small boy with bright eyes and a timid smile seated at a piano. Jason, his brother, gone for 3 decades. The doorbell shattered the moment. Blake straightened his designer shirt, burying emotions beneath the composed exterior he'd perfected since coming out at 18. Downstairs, the new cleaning service had arrived. "Mr. Sullivan, I'm Tyler Ramirez." The young man stood in the doorway, his demeanor professional yet guarded. Something in his eyes spoke of familiar pain, the kind that comes from living authentically in a world that demands conformity. Blake nodded, offering a rehearsed smile. "The supplies are in the utility closet. I'll be working upstairs." Yes, sir. Hours passed in mutual silence until a crash jolted Blake from his computer. He rushed down to find Tyler frozen before the portrait, a broken vase at his feet. The young man's face had drained of color. "Sir, I know this boy," Tyler whispered, voice trembling. "He lived with me at St. Joseph's Orphanage. We called him Alex, but he always said his real name was different, that he came from a family with a piano." Blake's world tilted on its axis. After decades of dead ends and false hopes, was this finally a thread that led to his brother? "How can you be certain?" Blake asked, struggling to control his voice. "I'd recognize those eyes anywhere," Tyler replied. "He drew this house constantly, said his brother would find him someday." Beyond the window, the San Francisco skyline glittered against the night sky, deceptively serene for a moment so profound. Blake's hand trembled as he lifted the portrait, examining the familiar features that had haunted his dreams for 30 years. The soft curve of his brother's smile, the slight tilt of his head, details he'd feared time might erase from memory. "He spoke about you," Tyler continued, his voice gaining strength, "about a brother who promised to find him, no matter what. The other kids thought he was making it up, but I believed him. There was something in his eyes when he talked about you, a certainty that couldn't be fabricated." A notification blinked on Blake's phone, another corporate acquisition completed, another million added to his empire. It seemed trivial now, paper castles built to distract from the void left by Jason's absence. Every achievement had been shadowed by a silent question. Would his brother be proud if he knew? Would he even recognize the man Blake had become, subscribe to heart stories to follow this journey of loss, identity, and the unexpected connections that can heal even the deepest wounds? Because sometimes the path to finding someone else leads to finding yourself. The Golden Gate Park bench where Blake now sat with Tyler felt surreal, the same spot where his 4-year-old brother disappeared on a Sunday morning in 1995. Children played nearby, parents hovering protectively. Blake's throat tightened. "I was 8, he said, staring at the playground. Mom was playing with Jason on the swings while I climbed trees. Dad was on a call. When he returned, Jason was gone, just vanished." Tyler listened quietly, his notepad filled with details, dates, names, locations. His experience helping LGBTQ+ youth had taught him how to unravel painful stories. "What happened after?" he asked. Blake's laugh was hollow. "We fell apart. Dad started drinking, blamed Mom for being distracted. She sank into depression. I became invisible, especially after I came out at 18. Your father didn't accept you." William Sullivan, respected attorney, couldn't reconcile his son being gay with his conservative image. "He gave me a choice: suppress who I was or leave. I left." William's words still echoed. "First I lose a son to a criminal, now I lose one to perversion." The following days unfolded in a whirlwind of shared information. Tyler revealed how he'd been thrown out by his own parents for being transgender, how he'd met Alex at St. Joseph's. Blake explained building his tech company from nothing, success becoming both shield and distraction from his fractured past. Their growing closeness complicated matters. Blake caught himself watching Tyler's hands as they sorted through files, admiring his resilience. But romance felt selfish when Jason remained lost. One evening, researching in Blake's home office, Tyler discovered an old newspaper article featuring Richard Whitmore, a celebrated philanthropist, standing beside William Sullivan at a charity event shortly after Jason's disappearance. "Your father knew Whitmore?" Tyler asked, showing Blake the photo. Blake frowned. "Dad never mentioned this." Tyler's expression darkened. "At St. Joseph's, we feared Whitmore's visits. Children disappeared, afterward adopted. They claimed, but Alex once said Whitmore was the man who took him from the park." The implication hung heavy between them. William Sullivan might know more about his son's disappearance than he'd ever revealed. Some secrets aren't just kept, they're buried, especially when they threaten the foundations we build our lives upon. The photo trembled in Blake's hands as a memory surfaced, his father returning home late the night after Jason disappeared. His knuckles bruised. His voice slurred with whiskey as he muttered, "It's taken care of." At 8 years old, Blake had assumed he meant the police reports. Now, the words carried sinister possibility. Rain began to patter against the windows, mirroring the chill that spread through Blake's body. He'd spent a lifetime building success as armor against his past, but now that armor was cracking, revealing the wounded child still hiding beneath. "I need to confront my father," Blake said finally, his voice hardening with resolve. Tyler placed a hand on his arm, a touch both comforting and electric. "Not alone. Whatever we find, we face it together." That night, Blake dreamed of the piano, the one his mother had taught both boys to play. In the dream, small fingers pressed tentatively against ivory keys, a melody half-remembered, haunting in its incompleteness. He woke with tears on his cheeks and Tyler's name on his lips, realizing that for the first time in decades, he had allowed someone past his defenses. St. Joseph's Orphanage stood like a weathered sentinel on San Francisco's outskirts, its brick facade darkened by decades of neglect. Blake gripped the steering wheel, anxiety coursing through him as Tyler placed a steadying hand on his arm. "Ready?" Tyler asked. Inside, Sister Margaret received them in a sparse office, her weathered face registering shock at the photograph Blake presented. "Alex," she whispered, crossing herself. "Such a gentle boy, always drawing houses with pianos." Her story confirmed their suspicions. A child matching Jason's description arrived with falsified documents, brought by a woman claiming to be a social worker. The timing aligned perfectly with the abduction. "He insisted his name was Jason Sullivan," Sister Margaret said, "but the paperwork said Alexander Grant." She produced a faded drawing from the orphanage archives, a house with a piano, signed Jason Sullivan with childish letters. Blake's hands trembled as he recognized their childhood home. Meanwhile, Detective Maya Chen worked her own angle, reviewing the cold case file. Half Chinese and openly lesbian, Chen had faced her own battles in the department. She recognized the Whitmore name immediately. "I've been tracking him for years," she confided to Blake and Tyler during a clandestine meeting. "Child trafficking disguised as charitable adoptions, but he's protected by powerful people." That protection became evident when Blake approached his father, William Sullivan. Now a frail alcoholic living in a luxury apartment, reacted violently to the mention of Whitmore. "You don't understand what you're doing," William hissed, eyes darting nervously. "That man owns half this city. He'll destroy you." "Like he destroyed our family," Blake challenged. "Did you know, Dad? Did you know what happened to Jason?" William's collapse revealed the awful truth. Whitmore had blackmailed him with evidence of legal improprieties. William chose his reputation over pursuing his son's kidnapper. "I was a coward," William wept. "I failed both my sons." Outside his father's building, Blake stood in shocked silence until Tyler embraced him. The comfort of those arms awakened something Blake had denied himself for years: connection. Their investigation drew Whitmore's attention. Blake's office was broken into, files stolen. Anonymous threats arrived, specifically mentioning Blake's sexuality as a reason no one would believe his accusations against a respected philanthropist. "He's trying to use who you are against you," Tyler said fiercely, "just like society used it against me." In that moment, and their personal fight merged with a larger one against those who weaponize difference to silence truth. Sometimes the greatest act of courage isn't facing an enemy, but refusing to become the person they claim you are. The ceiling lights of Blake's home office cast long shadows as he pored over old newspaper clippings. Rain streaked down the windows, creating rivulets that distorted the city lights beyond. Tyler sat cross-legged on the floor, surrounded by files, his face etched with concentration. "There's a pattern," he said, connecting dates on a timeline. Every few years, Whitmore's foundation announces a major donation to children's causes. Each donation follows a high-profile child disappearance that goes unsolved. Blake pushed aside his laptop, rubbing his temples. "How has no one noticed this before?" "Because no one wanted to," Detective Chen said from the doorway. Having arrived with new evidence, Whitmore donates to police foundations, judges' re-election campaigns, politicians' pet projects. He's built a fortress of influence. That night, as Tyler slept on Blake's guest room couch, exhausted from their research, Blake found himself watching the gentle rise and fall of his chest. Something protective and tender unfurled within him, a feeling both terrifying and exhilarating. After years of casual encounters and emotional distance, the possibility of deeper connection made him vulnerable in ways success never could. The Portland Art Festival buzzed with creative energy as Blake and Tyler navigated through crowds. Following Detective Chen's tip, 3 painful months of searching had led to this moment, to a simple booth at the festival's edge where a bearded man created intricate portraits of children. "That's him," Tyler whispered, clutching Blake's hand. "That's Alex." Blake froze, staring at his brother's face, now a man's, lined with experience, yet unmistakably the same eyes from the portrait. Jason worked with focused precision, his hands creating beauty despite whatever darkness they'd survived. They approached cautiously. Jason looked up, his expression shifting from professional courtesy to confusion as he studied Tyler. Then Blake. "Do I know you?" he asked, voice hesitant. Tyler stepped forward. "It's me, Tyler, from St. Joseph's." Recognition dawned. "Tyler, you've changed." "So have you," Tyler replied gently. "Alex, or should I say, Jason Sullivan." The name triggered something profound. Jason's pencil clattered to the ground as he stared at Blake, fragments of memory visibly struggling to align. "The piano," Jason whispered. "A blue house with a red door. A brother who called me champ." Blake couldn't hold back. "Jason, I'm Blake. Your brother." The reunion unfolded awkwardly, filled with cautious questions and gaps where answers should be. Jason revealed he'd escaped from St. Joseph's at 14 after discovering documents proving his identity had been falsified. He'd lived on streets, in shelters, eventually finding peace through art therapy, which he now offered to traumatized children. "I'm bisexual," Jason shared hesitantly during their second meeting. "After what happened, figuring out my identity was complicated. Part of me was afraid it was why I was taken." Blake explained his own journey coming out. Rejection, building success as armor. "I never stopped looking for you," Blake said, even when everyone else gave up. Jason's recovery of memories came slowly, aided by a therapist specializing in trauma and LGBTQ+ issues. He recalled fragments Whitmore at the park offering candy, the terror of being told his family didn't want him, years of conditioning to forget his past. Their healing process strengthened as Detective Chen built her case against Whitmore. Evidence mounted of a sophisticated trafficking operation spanning decades, targeting vulnerable families. Then came the threat. Blake received footage of his home, his office, his meetings with Chen, along with a simple message: "Stop, or your brother disappears again, permanently." Instead of retreating, Blake made his move. He arranged a meeting with Whitmore, ostensibly to discuss a technology donation to the Philanthropist's Foundation. But Whitmore arrived prepared, with men who forced Blake into a waiting car. The abduction wasn't unexpected, it was planned. Blake wore a wire, and Chen's team traced the signal to an abandoned Whitmore property. What they didn't anticipate was Tyler and Jason insisting on joining the rescue operation, refusing to let another Sullivan disappear. Rain pelted against the window panes of Jason's modest Portland apartment, creating a soundtrack of gentle persistence that mirrored their conversation. The brothers sat across from each other, separated by a small table and 30 years of absence. Between them lay old photographs Blake had brought, evidence of their shared history. "I remember this," Jason said, touching a faded image of their mother at the piano, both boys on either side of her. "She always smelled like vanilla and sheet music." His laugh was quiet, tinged with wonder at the memory's return. Blake watched his brother's face, cataloging similarities and differences. They had the same eyes, the same contemplative tilt of the head, but Jason's features carried a wariness that Blake's success had insulated him from. "Tell me about your art," Blake said, noticing how Jason's shoulders relaxed when discussing his work. "It started as therapy," Jason had explained, gesturing to canvases lining the walls, children's portraits, each capturing a resilient spirit behind vulnerable eyes. "When I work with traumatized kids, I show them how to express what words can't. It's like creating a map out of darkness." Dawn broke over San Francisco Bay as flashing police lights illuminated the warehouse where Blake had been held. Reporters swarmed as Richard Whitmore emerged in handcuffs, his empire crumbling with each revelation. The case exposed dozens of corrupted officials, fake adoption agencies, and families searching for closure. "We found him through family," Tyler told reporters, standing proudly beside Blake. "Not DNA databases or facial recognition, but because one brother never stopped believing, and another never stopped drawing the home he remembered." Blake's arm rested around Jason's shoulders, their resemblance now unmistakable despite the years apart. "Today isn't just about justice for our family," Blake declared. "It's for every child who disappeared, every parent who grieved, every LGBTQ+ youth rejected and made vulnerable by that rejection." The Sullivan Foundation launched 6 months later, dedicated to finding missing children and supporting LGBTQ+ youth at risk. Tyler served as program director, his experience navigating both worlds proving invaluable. Jason created an art therapy wing, turning trauma into healing for others like himself. William Sullivan attended the opening ceremony, sober for the first time in decades. His reconciliation with his sons remained complicated. "Some wounds don't heal completely, but the foundation created space for trying. When I was thrown out for being transgender," Tyler shared during the ceremony, "I became a statistic, one of thousands of LGBTQ+ youth experiencing homelessness each year. Those children are targeted because their support systems have failed them." The foundation's work revealed staggering numbers: LGBTQ+ youth representing nearly 40% of homeless youth, despite being only 7% of the population. Missing children cases with LGBTQ+ elements often receiving less attention from authorities. 1 year later, Blake, Tyler, and Jason walked together in their first Pride Parade. Above them, rainbow lights shimmered against San Francisco's skyline. At the foundation's booth, Jason sat at a portable piano playing for the first time since childhood, while Blake and Tyler's hands remained intertwined. "Sometimes finding your family means creating it," Blake said, watching Jason play. "And sometimes the longest journey leads you right back home, just with a deeper understanding of what home really means." Autumn rain pattered against the windows of the foundation's headquarters as Blake reviewed applications for their newest program, a scholarship fund for LGBTQ+ youth pursuing careers in child advocacy and mental health. His office walls, once adorned with corporate awards, now displayed children's artwork for Janitor and letters from families reunited through their work. A soft knock interrupted his concentration. Margaret Sullivan stood in the doorway, more present than she'd been in decades. After intensive therapy, she had joined the foundation's parent support group, eventually becoming its leader, guiding others through the grief she understood intimately. "They're waiting for you in the music room," she said, her smile gentle but sure. The foundation's music therapy space, designed to mirror the Sullivan family piano room, had become a sanctuary for traumatized children. Today marked a special milestone, Jason's first public performance since his return. Blake followed his mother down the corridor, their relationship still healing but stronger than either had imagined possible. Inside, Tyler directed volunteers arranging chairs while Jason adjusted the grand piano, his fingers dancing lightly across keys. The journey from broken family to healing community hadn't been linear, but each step forward mattered. Have you ever discovered that healing one person's past can transform countless futures? Share your story in the comments below. And subscribe to Hard Stories for more journeys of courage, identity, and the power of never giving up, because every heart deserves to be heard and every story matters.